Hi YouTube, M6CB back again with another video. I said I'd do a programming guide for the Retevis RT90, well, here it is. I've obviously got a bit of a different camera setting here. I've got the camera on the radio, so you can see how I do it on there. You don't need to see my ugly mug for that. So basically, let's get started. I haven't really structured this. I'm just sort of doing it on the fly. So hopefully it all comes out all right. So just before we start, this is my website here, m6cb.com, and this is the review that I did on this radio. Now, there's loads of really close-up detailed shots, so please check that out. And I also did a YouTube video review as well that I'll link in the description of this video. So basically, where do we start? So you've got your radio. Now I don't think this radio comes with a programming cable. I can double check, but it's well worth, I think it's just a few dollars for the cable, so I highly recommend you get the cable for it. So that's basically, I've got my cable plugged into my my PC. We've got the radio here. Obviously I've took the microphone out, just, you know, you don't need it. This cable plugs into the back, but we'll have a look at that in a second. So first thing you need to do is head over to the Retevis resources page. I'll put the link in the description. But here you'll see all the firmwares and programming softwares and everything for all their radios. Now, excuse me, we need to find the RT90. So this is where the firmware is. So I might do a little video on how to update the firmware. So stay tuned for that. So I'll do one on that. But for now, we just need the RT90 software. So it'll pop up like this, and we want to save it. I've already done mine. If you looked at my radio review that I did of this, you'll see that version 1.24 was the version that we need for this current firmware that's on the radio. So that's fine. So we download, that will download, and then you will have this when you open it. So when you get the zip on your desktop, unzip that to sort of anywhere on your computer, and then run as administrator, install the software like you would any other piece of software, and then you will be greeted with this screen here. This is the Retevis RT90 programming software, and this is how it will be when you first get open the software up. It is basically very not very much on it at all, very sparse, but that's not a problem. If you get your radio, you can plug your radio into your computer, and then you can read from the radio. So we'll do that now, and then we'll see. As I say, I've already programmed this radio, so it's already programmed, but obviously you'll have to do it from the beginning. But when the radio comes from the factory, it does have some bits on it that will help you along. But obviously this is the back of the radio. So here we have the data port. You can just see it tucked behind this rubber cover here. This is the external microphone, external speaker socket there, and this is the cable that you plug in to program it. So you just pop that in there like so. Let me just make sure I'm getting it in okay. There we go. So now the cable's in there now. So there we go. Let's turn it on the front. So yeah, now we've put the cable in the radio. So now we should be able to read from the radio. So if we click read, it's going to now read from the radio. You can see that the screen says PC program USB mode. So now it's pulling the information off the radio, so we can have a look what's on it. Obviously, as I said, mine's already been programmed, but we can walk through the different steps. So when you get your radio, you could do the same thing, and then whatever is on the radio as it came from the factory, you'll see on the screen now. So it gives you a good basis to start. So anyway, without further ado, let's have a look at what we can do. So basic information, I just leave that alone. I don't mess around in there at all. General settings, you can put your radio name there. I've just put my call sign, and then you can put your radio ID there. That happens to be mine. Obviously put your own in. Here you can just put your call sign and location if you want, or whatever 2 lines of information you want, so that when you're radio power's on. Let's show you now. So if I turn the power off, now it's powering down. And if we power it back on, you can see M6CB Freckleton, which is what's written here. So that's what will come up when you power it on. Or you can have a picture, so you can have it with, I think it's just a Retevis logo. All these I've just left completely blank. I haven't messed with any of these settings whatsoever. So I just leave those. So the menu item, so I've left this again. So obviously when you get this, you're looking at it and you can be quite daunted by it. But most of it you just leave alone. You know, I don't mess around with any of these. But a lot of it's self-explanatory, really. Obviously I don't have Vox on, I don't want Vox on, but this radio can do it if you want it. But it's probably best to start with that you don't mess around with stuff that you don't really know what you're doing. That's probably the best advice I can give you, really. And another good tip is when you've downloaded from your read from your radio like we just did, save a copy of it. So once it's downloaded, just go up to the top and then you would just go save as, and then you could just save it as whatever you want, and then as you're messing with it, go back again and save as something else, and then edit the one that you, so you've got 2 copies of it basically. So you always have the original if there's ever an issue. So buttons and definitions. If you watch my review video, you notice that I held down the P1 button. That was to put the radio into monitor mode. So if we hold it down, I don't know if it's oh yeah, we're on. It's not going to do it now because we're not in analog. So let me just show you what I mean. Simplex. Okay, so now that's monitor mode, as you can hear. And then if I take it off, so if we look back at the computer now, we've got P1, obviously, which is P1 button. We'll change the power levels. If you short press it, you can see at the top there the power levels change: high, low, medium, medium, high. And then if you long press, it's monitor, which is what we just did. And then P2 is the scan button, on and off, so it should scan. Although I've not managed to get mine to actually scan, which is something I'm going to have to look into. But that's what I've set here. I've unassigned it on a long press. P3 is changing the zone, so if I press P3, it'll change the zone. See, now we're on repeaters. There's my repeaters. I press P3 again, give it a second, and it'll go to all. Press P3 again, and then we go DMR Simplex. So yeah, unassigned on the long press, and then P4 is one touch access. So one touch access is here, if you look down here. So on my short press of P4, it will unlink from my hotspot. So what I've done is I've made that a digital contact with an unlink call. So you can choose this from anything you want. Obviously I'll show you how to do this, but you create a contact with unlink and you just select that, and that's basically how I have mine set. So I can just quickly unlink from my hotspot. So that's that. So text message, as I say, I'll leave that alone. I think you can just add some predefined text messages that you can send to people without obviously having to type it out. So that's that there. As I say, I don't use that at all. Privacy settings I've left completely alone. Digital contacts. Now this is where you can import this from other radios. If you have other DMR radios, you can export from your, open your other software for your radio. It might not work all the time, but open your software from your other radio, export it, then come into this one and then import it. And then you would just find the file and import it. So I've got all these contacts. I think I imported these from my Alliance HD one, I think. But you can just keep adding them as you go. So obviously we've got UK 2350, so you would just call it whatever you want. This is irrelevant, you can call this whatever. It could be anything you want in there, but the ID is where it's going to go. So talk group 2350 would be 2350 in here. TAC 310 is just talk group 310. Some other popular ones, another good group, Northwest Fusion Group, big shout out to Dougie and everyone over there. That's talk group 428. So there we go. In fact, I don't actually know if that is 428. I think that was when I was doing some crossover, because you can with Pi-Star do crossover, so you can go from DMR to Fusion. So I think that's what I was doing there. So don't quote me on that particular one. But yeah, Echo is another one where you can do so you can hear your voice back. So that's talk group 9990. I've just called it Echo. So that's basically all your contacts in there. User activated AT. You're probably familiar with these. So there you go. You just leave. You can just keep clicking add and adding them to your heart's content. So once you've got your contact list, then we can start making some channels with them. Now, as you can see, here's just all the channels. Now, it looks kind of a bit jumbled. Think of your channels of just like all your papers all over your desk. No organization, just all over your desk, loads of paperwork. And this is what each individual channel is set. And then when you have a group of channels, for instance, this one is 145.2. Now this is on analog, and this is just a simplex channel. If you watch my YouTube review of this, you'll know that it doesn't really have a VFO as such, but you can just have a simplex zone, and you can search through the simplex frequencies that way. So if 145.2, and I've got 145.225, 145.250, and so on, and it'll just keep going on. Now, once I've got those bunch there, say for example, I want to then put them into a folder. So as I said before, these are all like pieces of paper all over your desk. Now you're going to want to put them into folders, so it's all neat and tidy. And that's what you do with the zones. So if you go to my simplex zone, available channels, these are basically all this here. All this down here is basically here. And then you can put it in here to organize it. So I wanted a simplex zone with basically all these in it. So it keeps it all nice and tidy. And then I've got a repeaters zone. And these are just my repeaters. So if we went down here, here we go, GB3FC, GB308, GB3MP and GB3PP. GB3 Ellswick Preston will be coming very shortly. That's one that me and Wayne G0HIJ are doing, so look out for that. Links will all be in the description anyway. So yeah, if we went to repeaters, you can see those four there, and that's just basically, these are just the folders to organize these channels. That's all it is. And if we go on the radio and we go to zone, you can see there we've got all repeaters. So if we go to the repeaters there and then click on, you'll see we've got GB3MP, GPP, FC, OA. So they're basically there. That's how it's working. So that's just these are just the zones. And then if you go on all, I've just listed everything in one. So you can have a folder with everything in it if you're wanting to sort of scan through it all. So that's basically how that is. Now, if you want to know how to basically program in a very basic nutshell how to get the channels together, let's go for example with my my hotspot. So if I go to my hotspot, so you basically would just click channel information, and you would right click, and then you would click add, and then if you go to the bottom here, you can see channel 1. So this is completely empty. This is how you will get it when you add a channel. So to edit this, basically all you need to do, if we're going to say use my hotspot as an example, you want it in digital, not FM. And when you click digital, all this bottom bit goes. Now this is where all the CTCSS would go, if you're using sort of analog repeaters and such. So once you go to, say if you go on analog, all this becomes active and all this gets grayed out. And then if you go on digital, then all this is active and all this is grayed out. So it's really straightforward. So we're going to do because we're talking about my hotspot and it's going to be on DMR digital, we obviously want it on digital. The bandwidth I just leave at 12.5, and this is where you can add it to a scan list. Now you can add the scan list up here. So I've got a hotspot scan list, a repeater scan list, simplex scan list. And the theory, not that it particularly works on my radio at the moment, it's something I'm going to have to play with. You can just basically keep adding to a scan list, and then when you're in the radio, you can hit scan and it's going to scan whatever is in those folders. That's the theory. Whether I've got it to work that way is a different story. So yeah, that's where you'd add your scan list. So you say, oh, I want it to be part of my hotspot scan list, so you'd select that, or you can just leave it at none. It really doesn't matter, and you can add it there if you want later. Squelch, I would recommend it. It's obviously at number 1. It works fine, but you can adjust it later. You can actually adjust that on the radio, so that's not a big issue. These I just keep as low. The power of the radio, as I say, you've got 4 power levels. You can change this in the radio, so you can select whichever there. It doesn't matter. I always suggest leaving it on the lowest. Timeout timer, I personally just leave it infinite. I don't have a timeout timer. And then you would call this, I don't know, say this wants to be on my hotspot, and it wants to be talk group 91. So we can put TG91, and then we could just call it HSPOT. So we know it's hotspot talk group 91. Now, the TX frequency for my hotspot is 434.000, and it's the same again here. Obviously, it's simplex. So if you're using a repeater, you would obviously put the repeater frequencies in there. They would obviously be different. Emerging system, I just leave as none, and this is where you would choose the contact. So we wanted this one to be talk group 91. So we find talk group 91 from this contact list here, and all this list is here is basically what we had over here. Where is it there? So this is all, that list there that we just looked at is whatever is here. So the more you add to there, they will just show up here. So that's that basically. So we would find our contact name as talk group 91. Now it will be in here somewhere. I think I've put it as world. Let's check. Yeah, see, I've called it world, but it is talk group 91. So that's good that happened there. So you can see that this list is basically the contact name. So try and make it so that it's easy for you to understand which one it is. So that was my bad really. I should have put something like world 91 or something so I'd know. So basically, yeah, it's called world. So we just add it there. Now, if you're using repeaters, you're going to have color codes. Some repeaters are color code 1, some repeaters are color code 2. Mine hotspot is I just leave it on color code 1. Repeater slots obviously comes into play when you're on repeaters. We'll have a quick look at that in a second. But for the hotspot, both just leave them on 1, and that's it. And then, as you can see here, there you go. It's named it talk group 91 hotspot. As soon as you change the name here, it will add it to there, and that's it. And then all you can do, say if you're doing a hotspot and you've gone to all this trouble of getting all this information right, then all you can do, go up here to channel information, right click and add, right click add, right click add, and it adds the channels here. These are just empty. But if you go to the one that you just did and right click and copy, and then right click and paste, and then we go back to that, it's kept all that information in from this one apart from the name. So you can call this one, I don't know, UK2350, and then you would just change the so it's telling me it already exists because we've already done it. So let's just change it to something else. UK2350, I don't know, UK again. Then you would just go here, and there it is, UK2350. And then you can just keep going, keep right click, paste, and then you can just change the name, and it's kept all the other bits the same, and change the contact. And that's how you basically build it up. So now if we look at some of the repeaters on here, obviously the analog repeaters, if we go on to say GB3 FC or MP, doesn't matter, we've obviously clicked analog here instead of digital, which grays out this area, and then it brings in this area, so we can put our CTCSS in here, and I think I've just left most of that as it is. I think it's just the CTCSS that you change, and there you can see that the output is on 750 and the input 150 GB3 MP. You can put obviously you can change the power levels on the radio, but it doesn't matter. Just put it on low or whatever you want to do, and that's basically it. As I say, these scan lists here, say Hotspot here, those ones that we added earlier. Can you see here where we put UK Talkroom 93 Hotspot, which were these here at the bottom, down there. You can then add them to your scan lists if you want. And your zones. So once you keep adding channels here, and then you think, oh, that's great, I've added them here, I will then write the information to my radio. I'm not going to do that now, but write the information to my radio, and then great, everything's going to work. Well, no, you have to put them in a zone. Otherwise, when you're selecting your zones here, it won't know that the ones that you've added, what zone that you want to put them in. So if I go to, I don't know, Hotspot. So now these are my Hotspot ones. Those ones that we just added aren't there, and well, won't be there because we haven't added them to the zone. So if we go back up to zone and click Hotspot and go down here, you will see those ones are not on this list. That's what's on the list, and then you want to add, say, these two to the list. You just go add, and that's it. And then obviously keep saving as you go, save as something new so that you can kind of keep multiple copies, and that's basically it. And then once you're in the zone, you could also add them to the scan list. Go to Hotspot, and as you can see, this is the scan list here, and there you go. Those are the two ones that we added. So you just go add, and they're there. And then once you're happy with things, you would then want to write the information to your radio. Now I'm not going to do that because obviously I've made changes here, and I don't want to overwrite the changes that I've done because they're not right. But you would just click up here, you'd go write, and then you'd click OK, and then you'll see it say write to radio on your display, and that's pretty much it. Now another good thing with this radio is you can have 100,000 DMR contacts. Now if you go to this website here, I'll put the link in the description, you can get the latest DMR contact list for your radio. Excuse me. So you just click here, you would click on RT90, where is it? There it is, RT90. Then you would click next. It's going to probably ask me to sign in. Yeah, it's going to ask me to sign in, so I won't do that now. But basically, you select the radio you want, you click next. It's going to say how many your radio can store. You can filter it by country, so you can have like all of USA and all of UK, which you can easily do at the moment. That would probably take your contact list to about 60,000. 70 maybe, so you can just keep adding some countries until you fill up the 100,000, and then it'll download it into a file. It'll do it all on this website. It's really easy. They let you have one go at this website before they start wanting a donation from you. There are other websites, I can't think of them right now, but I will put them in the link in the description. Not so much for this radio, but other radios, so that might be useful to know. But it will just give you a CSV download. Now one thing you have to do, which can be a bit of a pain, is once it's downloaded this CSV contact list, your computer that you want to upload the contacts to the radio on has to have Microsoft Excel. It's a bit of a downside because not everybody has Microsoft Excel, but it has to have Microsoft Excel if you want the contact list to appear on your radio. But once you have that downloaded from the website, you would just go up here to program, and you'd go write contacts, and then you would click import. Now you'll see it won't work for me now because this computer doesn't have Microsoft Excel. Can you see Excel fail? Because it needs to have Microsoft Excel installed on the PC. But if you've got Excel installed on this PC, you'll go import, you'll select the file you just downloaded, everything will be great, and then you'll click write. It'll take a good 10 minutes because it's a huge database, and obviously it takes a while to upload. And you do that separately from your actual programming. So you can program all these bits that we just talked about on your radio, absolutely no problem at all. Keep saving it, you can then write it to your radio. Everything's fine, but for your contacts you have to do it separately. So once you've got your radio all programmed how you want it, just go up to program, write contacts, import, and then write separately there, and then it'll do it. So that's basically, in a nutshell, how you program the Retevis RT90. Now it does count for other DMR radios as well. They're all very much the same. They all very much have the same idea. A lot of people get quite scared with programming of DMR, but it's really quite simple. As I say, I might have missed a few bits, so if I have, please leave a comment and I'll answer any questions you have. And obviously, you can email me on QRZ, and as I say, I'll do my best to help. So yeah, back to my website there. This is the full written review of this radio. I've got loads of pictures there you can have a good look at. As I say, I've tried to do my best to do as much information as I can on the RT90. But it's a fantastic radio. Once you get it programmed, you know, you'll be away. It's really quite straightforward. And there's obviously the pictures that I've taken of it. So yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate you watching the video. And as I say, if I can help at all, just drop me an email and I'll get back to you. Or leave a comment down below and I'll answer the comment. So 73 from M6CEB.